Out of 312 applicants, she was the last one on the list, an average resume, no high-level connections, and a small-town college degree. But when the interviewer scrolled to the final line of her application, he froze. She had typed something no one ever had before: already married to you. What started as a typo, or was it fate, would soon unravel a story that changed both of their lives forever. The conference room was quiet, except for the hum of the air conditioner and the clicking of a mouse. A tired HR manager, Rohan Mehra, leaned back in his chair, sighing as he glanced at the clock. 6:47 p.m. He had been screening resumes since 9 in the morning, over 300 names, each starting to blur into one. This was the final candidate. Her file read, Sara Ali, applicant number 313. A clean resume. Nothing extraordinary. A degree in literature from a lesser-known college. Some teaching experience. Volunteer work. No LinkedIn, no recommendations from anyone influential. Honestly, he would have skipped it, until he scrolled down and saw it. In the additional notes section, instead of a typical, looking forward to hearing from you, she had written, already married to you. Rohan blinked. Maybe it was a mistake. A copy-paste error? A prank? But something about it pulled him in, like a whispered sentence in a crowded room meant just for him. He hesitated for a second, then clicked schedule interview. Sara didn't expect a call. She'd applied out of desperation. Her mother had been diagnosed with early-onset dementia, and her father's small grocery store barely paid the bills. Every morning, she applied to jobs she wasn't qualified for, hoping one day, someone would see more than just her credentials. The interview was scheduled for the next afternoon. She almost didn't go. When she walked into the building, a tall glass structure that looked like it belonged in a movie, her heart pounded. She wore the same beige kurta she'd worn to 3 previous interviews, her scuff flats clicking softly as she walked through the marble-floored lobby. She met Rohan in the interview room. He looked younger than she expected. Mid-30s maybe. Warm eyes, tired posture. He stared at her for a moment too long, clearly trying to match the soft-spoken woman in front of him with the bold words from her application. So, he said, flipping the file, about the note you wrote at the end. Sara's face flushed red. Oh no, I didn't mean that. I was helping my best friend draft her wedding vows last night and I must have pasted that by mistake. He laughed. A real laugh. The kind that comes from being surprised in a good way. You're the first person to make me laugh today. And it's been a very long day. The ice broke. The interview began. But it didn't feel like an interview. It felt like a conversation that was meant to happen. They spoke about books, about how she used to write poetry but stopped when life got too heavy. She mentioned how much she missed her mother, even though she was still alive, but not the same. And he listened. When it was over, he stood and said something unexpected. You probably won't get this job. Sara smiled sadly. I figured. But I'd like to have coffee with you sometime. Off the record. She blinked, unsure if he was mocking her. Why? Because. I think you wrote more truth in that sentence than you realized. But he did. Coffee turned into conversations. Conversations into evenings. Evenings into comfort. The job was offered to someone else, but somehow that didn't matter anymore. She found something she wasn't looking for. Something quieter. Deeper. Still, the world didn't stop being hard. Her mother's condition worsened. The bills piled up. Rohan offered help once, she refused. Pride, or fear, or both. But he didn't walk away. One evening, as they sat by the lakeside near her home, she turned to him with tears in her eyes and whispered, I wasn't joking when I wrote that. I know, he said gently. Neither was I when I read it. They weren't in love yet, not the kind that shouts from rooftops. But they had something more sacred, a recognition. Like two people meeting after lifetimes of almosts. Their journey wasn't perfect. Rohan's family disapproved. She's not from our circle, they said. She doesn't match your status. He almost gave in. Sara stepped back. Maybe they're right. But then he remembered the note. for words that sounded like a vow before a wedding. He returned to her one rainy afternoon with a soaked shirt, trembling hands, and said, "Let me start over. This time, for real." He pulled out a crumpled sheet, the original resume she submitted. Circled in red, "Already married to you." And beneath it, he had written, "Then let's live like it." They married in a quiet ceremony. No grand stage. Just close friends, her mother who remembered just enough to cry, and a moment that felt like destiny in disguise.